This year, I was flown out to Red Bull's Art of Motion 2022 in Asta Paella.
Tiny island in the middle of nowhere. Just so happens to be perfect for parkour.
This event was incredible. It had the best athletes on Earth on one small island to compete against each other.
What is it?
But you see, the journey to get parkour competitions to this level hasn't been the smoothest.
Looked at my foot and it was just swinging.
All the stunts in this video are performed by professionals. Do not attempt them yourself.
But for us to tell this story, we need to go back to the very first parkour competition. The year was 2007. In the heart of Vienna, Austria, the world's first parkour competition was held. Red Bull's Art of Motion.
I got involved with Red Bull like very early on. We were like, oh, we think we're doing something cool. Let's go talk to Red Bull. And they're like, no, we only sponsor single athletes or events. And we're like, okay, so let's do an event.
I never even thought free running would get to competition. So
the idea behind it was that we bring everybody together from the sport who knew each other from online, but they've never meet in person. Then after that event, I think it's pretty much known what happened in the event, I think.
When it came to that round, I was the last one to go, meant that I had the highest scores, so I thought, right, I'll finish with a bang. I didn't really practice double corks, but I thought, how hard can it be? Take off, out, land on the mat. What was that snap? Looked at my foot and it was just swinging.
There were online protest groups trying to abolish parkour competition, and that's because it would make people competitive. Parkour was no longer about you and your own personal journey. It was now about one-upping the boys, getting gold medals and being on television. And not just that, it might make you take risks that you wouldn't otherwise take.
Parkour was a little split, or was split into free running and parkour, and a lot of people were against doing competitions because they thought it's going to be harmful for people and a bad thing.
2 years later, in 2009, Red Bull returned to Vienna for the next Art of Motion. And they had made a pretty controversial decision. There would be no crash mats.
The decision was made because if you have the safety of crash mats, you will always go for the craziest thing.
Crash mats obviously offer some protection, but the argument that was being made was that athletes were starting to become reckless because they felt an illusion of being safe. They might attempt tricks that were way too hard for them, but because there was a nice soft cushion on the floor, they might give it a go.
I think my thoughts were a lot about safety. The setups then got a lot smaller. Everything got less height over the years.
The 2009 event was much bigger. There was a bigger course, and the step up in movement level was considerably higher. But something happened in this 2-year period between these two events. Other companies started to sniff around. They saw the potential in parkour competitions. And so a new contender came into the mix, the Barclaycard World Freerunning Championships. It was hosted in Trafalgar Square in London with a budget of above $1 million. There was around 6,000 to 8,000 people sitting in the audience watching live. And it was live on television. But there was something else that was very similar between the Barclaycard event and Art of Motion, and that was that a ton of injuries came from people sending way too hard.
So the year after was then
the World Championships that I won.
George Mayfield, he blew his knee out or something?
Yeah, trying double side flip.
Now, this was becoming a recurring story. Big names, icons in the sport were having to take a year to 2 years out recovering from these injuries they'd sustained. But anyway, despite this internal war that was happening in the parkour freerunning world, the competitions kept coming, and they actually started to get better. You see, the rate of injury massively started to drop. The Barclaycard event eventually disappeared. It was clearly just a money grab, and only Red Bull was left. But then there was another hiccup. Fundamentally, it is almost impossible to mark a freerunner objectively. Because unlike football, where you could look at the guy who kicks the ball in the net the most, freerunning is far more subjective than that. What makes someone say that Tim Sheaf's style is any less than Ryan Doyle's style? Or vice versa, it's purely down to taste. And so very often the parkour community would kick up a fuss when someone won who they didn't think should have won. But with all this controversy, the events kept growing. They took parkour all around the world and placed it on this pedestal.
telling you, this man deserves to be here more than anyone else in this.
It created these epic moments. It gave young kids role models to aspire to be like. And all this brings us to the Santorini era.
As soon as Santorini hit, it was like they were like, okay, look at this. This is the real thing. Like, look how iconic this structure is. Look how iconic this shape of the buildings and this island is. Plus this sport that is made for these rooftops. It's just the perfect marriage. So they were like, okay, this is it. And it worked.
From 2011 to 2017, the island of Santorini would host Red Bull's Art of Motion, attracting freerunners from all around the world to come to this island to take it over. This became a massive community event for the sport.
So iconic that people copied it into their gyms. People started like traveling there every year.
Did you ever see DJ Khaled's video?
Oh no, I don't think I did.
It's insane.
And like most people would just go there for fun with no intentions of entering the competition, but a very select few would be inspired to try and qualify on site for the competition. It has led to no-named freerunners, people who come from obscure parts of the world, who don't receive the attention that they deserve, being able to compete and win Art of Motion. One of these people was a young Greek athlete by the name of DK.
We were training outside on rain, on snow, on whatever. It was really hard for us, no gyms to train, no mats. We were finding mats on, the garbage cans, and we were trying to use it outside so that we can learn some new moves. It wasn't for the Red Bull Art of Motion, I wouldn't be who I am right now.
How pumped is he?
DK went from being a complete unknown in the world of parkour to being shot into stardom. To this day, DK is a local celebrity in Greece.
The crowd is here. They're shouting it out.
And this is important because sports need heroes. They need Tony Hawk. They need David Beckham, Tiger Woods. Yeah, it's a bit of a cheeky chat, but you get my point. As humans, I feel like we seek to idolize excellence. And for parkour, Art of Motion really gave that. Santorini era of Art of Motion changed parkour completely. Yeah, it was because it was undeniably good. The hatred for competition in parkour as a whole massively dropped. And the community kind of had this realization that these events that were hosted by Red Bull weren't just to squeeze money out of the sport. People started to see the potential that these events had for growing parkour, growing athletes. However, with all of that being said, there is still one key issue.
Red Bull Art of Motion, I don't know, 2011 or something, you're probably doing 60 to 90 second runs. I'm going to guess the model of that event would have been skateboarding events, right? So it would have been like long runs that take time, that have different moments. And that makes sense for skateboarding because when you go skating at a skate park, you do just sort of cruise around and you might be skating for like 60 seconds. Whereas in parkour, you don't, you just do like a 15-second thing.
So even for me, as a fan of these competitions, there is a disconnect from what I see those people doing to what parkour is like when it's actually trained, 99% of the time. So then a race began in the parkour world to find the perfect way to do a parkour competition. In 2012, World Chase Tag would come out of nowhere and completely shake the whole game up. But World Chase Tag never really claimed to be a parkour competition. It's its own sport that clearly has deep roots in parkour, but it is its own sport. On top of this, there are speed competitions like the FISE one.
Like you said, neck on neck.
I personally just don't enjoy watching speed competitions. I don't know what it is. I think it's just so repetitive. Once you've seen it once, you get it. But there is one other competition that I think often gets overlooked, which is parkour skill competitions.
Inspire athletes to push themselves, to expand their training.
I believe it was mainly popularized by Sports Parkour League. To me, this feels the most true to actual parkour training. The athletes are given an allotted amount of time and there's a few different challenges they have to do.
So far, good swings.
It is easier, I felt, for the audience to connect on a personal level. If you see an athlete try a thing 2 or 3 times and see the struggle in it. Freaking Sydney fell on her shoulder and then nailed it and took away best female. I mean, you know, what a great progression story. And
hits her inward, pistol full, and she smashes it.
This year in particular, 2022, Art Motion returned in Astapala. I don't know how to fucking say it. This event, they completely switched up the format. So what they did this year was split the event across 3 days. First day, you go out with a fellow freerunner with an iPhone and you go and film some parkour. You gotta go and get 3 clips and then one gets submitted as your banger clip.
My thoughts on this is interesting seeing athletes able to do the hardest thing they can do.
Yes! My
That is something that in
God.
parkour competitions you just don't see. You know, like Berkey's put an hour into a jump. Let's go, Travis! Come on!
It's good for my, it definitely favours me, and it's definitely like true to parkour.
We go out, we shoot Instagram videos all the time. We go and shoot filming videos all the time, so that's like kind of cool.
And this was cool because this is what freerunners do. They go out and film things on their phone. So the best clip of the day won. That clip being from Ed Scott.
Yes, lad!
Day 2, the athletes were teamed up with a professional parkour filmmaker to create a 1-minute masterpiece. These videos were then watched the next day at a film festival. It was very fun. I had some popcorn. It was a very nice evening. And from this, Travis Verkey's video was picked as the winner. And then, on the final day, you had the live competition.
I think that I've been wanting to see get into competition for years now.
Now, the live competition was different. Instead of these long 60 to 90 second free running lines, it was just not how people did parkour. Athletes were given about 10 to 15 seconds to just do one hard banger line. And from the live event, Ed Scott placed first.
Bar, toe on, front down.
So overall, a winner was calculated. And that was Travis Verkey.
I can't believe it. This is unbelievable. I mean,
and to me, there is something very important about Travis winning, and it's not just because he's British. Travis is he's probably the best athlete on earth right now. But you see, Travis isn't the best at doing like long 60 to 90 second runs. That just isn't how he trains. The new format of Art of Motion allowed for him to do his best at what he is amazing at and be rewarded accordingly. To me, at least, it felt like the athlete of the year became the winner of Art of Motion. And in my opinion, that means that the Art of Motion champion was a true representative of the best athlete on earth. But I will be very curious to see how this event evolves. I think they're going down the right route. I personally would love to see some kind of skill comp from Art of Motion, like a high budget mixture of Ninja Warrior with a sort of Stora water challenge vibe.
And it's like anyone can understand jump from here to here with water below is hard. And then the thing is, if you do it in a tournament, like there might be parts where someone has to do a side flip to a rail that's like high up with water, and that would be amazing.
I'm with you on that one, man.
It's really encouraging that after 15 years of doing these events, they're still so committed to it. We love you, Art of Motion. Keep it up. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel and watch this video right here.